We are grateful to be in the presence of an amazing lady. I was trying to remember, it was many years ago that I first heard Martha Creek speak. It was up in Fort Lauderdale. And I had heard many things about her because she speaks all throughout the Unity movement and the New Thought movement at large, bringing skill sets to individuals in spiritual communities just like our own. And when I first heard her, I thought, she's definitely a match for Unity on the Bay. She has continued to serve us. Yesterday, she was here for a workshop with our leadership corps and has really brought many of the attributes that we've acquired, has helped us to develop them, that have moved us successfully through the transition that we've experienced this year. She is extraordinarily powerful, as you're about to discover if you don't already know. I won't introduce her as a guest. I will introduce her as a member of our spiritual family. Please join me in giving a warm Unity on the Bay welcome to Martha Creek.
I'm somewhere different every 3 or 4 days. I get to serve the most thriving Unity ministries in the movement. And I've done this for 21 years. I go where I'm invited. And I go out of a calling to serve those who serve. That's why I'm here. And that's what I believe about you. And I believe that we're here. And if anybody else could do it, they'd be here. So that's how we know it's us. We're the ones. We're the hope for humanity. We're the ones with the stamina. We're the ones with the common and uncommon motivation to stay the course on this, to say heaven on earth is not just a theory, but that heaven on earth is a potential in us, a promise that's been made through every sage and seer, every wise tradition, every written word that's ever been put out with power that says this is the potential of the humanity, and this human being, spiritual beings in a human experience are here then to consciously evolve, to exponentially affect experience and what we're experiencing. So then as we think about then discovering the power within us, get a sense of actually doing that. Not just a theory of discovering the power within us, but actually discovering the power within you and the difference that'll be. And we have some resistance, don't we? It's called ya but. Ya but. Ya but. You don't know the woe that I see. Nobody knows the troubles I see. So that's what we got to deal with. It says, hey, I, just like the Daily Word invited us today, will set aside that need to intellectually understand how I'm going to forgive those knuckleheads and to surrender, trying to understand what cannot be understood. And to give up, trying to make sense out of things that we cannot make sense of. To say, even though I do not understand how or why things happen, even though I cannot humanly understand how certain things could occur, have occurred, that I'm choosing now to say, I simply cannot understand that. I will simply no longer give my life vitality to trying to understand what cannot be understood. So I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to accept that which I cannot change. I'm going to unhitch from that. I'm going to lay that burden down, and I'm going to turn back to the potential within me for what can I do? What is possible in me? And then to discover it and get far and far more excited about discovering it. And then life in His infinite wisdom and through the grace and mercy for our soul's progression, our soul's evolution, will say, hey, I'll throw in a pop quiz here and there. I'll help you in your boot camp to build muscle for this. So then we'll get these little opportunities here and there. So Dr. David Hawkins wrote a book several years ago called The Power versus Force. And he talks about how we think being powerful is exerting force, and how there's actually no power in force. So think about a Mother Teresa that said, I will not march against something, but I will march for something. And other leaders in time that said, I cannot be against something and not lose my power. I'm going to have to send my power and my intentions and my causative, creative mind towards something that I want to create, not against something. In the book, he shows a consciousness for humanity, calibrated, kinesthetically tested, from 0 being snakes and lizards. And just a thought away from that regressive mind that loves to fight and argue and be offended and be irritated or shut down and crawl under a rock and give up and apathetic and why bother? That reptilian mind. To the highest of consciousness, that of the Jesus, the Christ, the Buddha, the highest of the known masters at 1,000, and that we're on a calibrated scale of this as human beings exercising this potential. And the greatest news of all, for every incremental increase you make in your consciousness exponentially affects all consciousness. So every incremental change I make in lifting my own consciousness, growing myself up, exponentially affects humanity, the consciousness of the species. This is good news, huh? Amen? Amen. Amen. Real potential then here. Then it says, okay, so that each and every interaction I'm in, each and every situation, each and every diagnosis I get, each and every look they give me, each and every time they include me or don't include me, I'm going to get to decide if I'm going to do things that weaken me or strengthen me, that turn my luminosity dial up or turn my luminosity dial down. So imagine going to, you know those little kiosks where you buy a newspaper? You ever seen one of those newspapers on the sidewalk? Some of you will have to Google this to know what I'm talking about. Back in the day, there was a little tin box that held newspapers, and some of us that read the newspapers loved the Sunday paper. Didn't you love the Sunday paper? Wasn't it a treat like to have the Sunday paper? So now imagine then, you walk up to the little newspaper stand. You got your $2 or $10, whatever it costs now, to get you a paper, and the person just before you left the door open. So you can get a paper without paying. Oh, the allure. Now, one way will weaken you, will create shame and guilt. And another way will strengthen you, will uplift your presence, will uplift the potential of your divine power. One way is creating shame and guilt. The other way is creating awakening, awareness, atonement, alignment, oneness. Which way will it be?
Take the paper.
She's laughing, but she said, take the paper. Then we pop off to lunch, and the server, the waiter, the waitress brings more money back from my check that I'm due. Cha-ching. Cha-ching. This is manifesting. Loco. So which is going to turn your luminosity dial up? And what's going to be a drag on your spirit? Then who's deciding here? Like a divine wisdom is going, hey, you know, the little things on your shoulder. It says, hey, go this way, go this way. And this one's going, oh no, you deserve that money after how hard you work. They don't need it, you need it. Don't buy that. All that stuff at Energy, blah, blah, blah. And then this one's going, free yourself. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's painful. It'll hurt you. Your tail won't wag if you do it. And we want our luminosity dial high, right? So that any chance like that. And then, you know, we'll get a diagnosis. Anybody here that hasn't had one yet? I'm just so eager to meet you. Like, have you noticed it goes with the territory? So will there be times of these things, these challenges, but get a sense of getting that diagnosis and then falling off into this woe is me versus, hey, wait a minute, what can I do? How can I relate to this differently? Discovering the power within me, I'm going to give more potential. I'm going to give more attention to potential and possibility than I am the name, the label, which doesn't deny the diagnosis, doesn't deny that this part of what we get to work through and grow through during these times of our human experience. And then there's another way that says, hey, I don't know much about what this means, but I know where my attention's going to go. I know what I'm going to be about. I know what I'm going to talk about. That every time I see somebody, there's such an allure to say, hey, did you hear I got a diagnosis? And then, don't we love to commiserate? Tell the truth. It's like, well, I had it worse. Well, I had a fever of 104 for 4 days. Girl, I had 107 for 5 days. No, which is strengthening us and which is weakening us. But oh, the allure. That allure to commiserate. That allure to one-up the misery. Carolyn Mace writes about it. She calls it woundology. And that if we don't circumvent this, if we don't circuit break this, we end up being bound in groups and bound in families and bound in races by our wounds and our woundology. Instead of, what's the potential here? What's a new possibility for me? And I'm going to go in that direction. Even with the temptation of mind. Lead me not into the temptation of mind. Lead me no deeper into needing intellectual understanding. Free me, liberate me, and move me in the direction of divine wisdom, of divine power. For thine is the power, for there is the power, there is the kingdom, there is the promise, there is the glory. And it'll require choosing again, choosing again, choosing again. So take a deep breath, a big deep breath, take a big deep breath. So imagine a purification of your mind this morning, a purification of your emotional field, A letting go of something that's been with you all along, that's been burdening you, baggaging you. And imagine leaving it here. That you have had a transformation, a born-again experience here, right here this morning. That you freed up yourself from some of this old, painful way. Then let's see if you have more power than divine power. So take another full and deep breath. This time breathe it in fuller than ever. Bring it all the way in, head to toe, and hold it. And hold the breath. And will yourself to hold the breath. Use your power to hold the breath. Don't let the breath out. What is wrong with you? That was clear directions. It gets funnier and funnier. So may this serve you well this week when you start to think, I have the power, instead of I am discovering the power within me. The power that is breathing me, the power that created me, the power that is sustaining me, the power that is going, hey, there's another option. Hey, pain will be included here. Suffering is included. And I can relate to it differently. I can relate to what is differently. See if you can say that out loud. I can relate to what is differently. I hold the power to create a new relation with what is. You say it with me? I hold the power to create a new relation with what is. That is the power within me. The power within you. And a new potential. So now get a sense. Close your eyes now. And get a sense of having shed that skin today. Of no longer referencing the intellect, the intellectual understanding of things, but flipping a switch. I'm going to go with divine understanding, divine wisdom. I'm going to be more interested in what I can do, what I can be. And imagine before you 3 steps, 3 stairs, 3 steps. And that we're stepping in to a new way of being. That we're consciously and collectively entering the upper room. That we're intentionally evolving and lifting our own consciousness. You individually, and then quantumly for the whole of humanity. So take a step up to the first step. Repeat these words. I know who I am in truth.
I know who I am in truth.
And then to the second step. One more step up. And together repeat, I know what I am in truth.
I know what I am in truth.
And then for the third step, step up there. Willing to further discover the power within you. Make the third step and repeat these words. I know how I serve in truth.
I know how I serve in truth.
Get a sense of it in your body. An embodiment of the teaching, the embodiment of this potential. Of how it feels. The presence and the power. And who you will be. Starting now. As you incrementally, exponentially change your reality. And the reality of what is. So we give thanks for this time, for these people, for these souls, the progression of these souls, and the consciousness now that is created and claimed. Give thanks for this unity on the bay, this ministry here, these leaders. And the blessing for each of their lives as we step into then being that blessing, more expanding ever and ever to the world for all of humanity. We begin again now here today. And so it is. Amen.